hassled from a lot of the residents in the county for being proactive. But I think they're beginning to realize that it's a good thing that we are being so proactive. And, you know, we've tried to educate the people, the residents. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. You know, when this all started out, Rena and Shane, who are the planners and planning office, they really stepped up to the plate and learned a lot of this stuff very quickly. I mean, Rena was telling the DEC they were making mistakes on their spacing units. So, luckily, Rena speaks up, and I tell her I'll back her. So, you have to be really careful, and we check the website daily, the DEC website daily. So I think, you know, that's what every county needs to do, and I have to be thankful that our Board of Supervisors had the insight to allow us to have Steve, for the county to pay Steve as a consultant and to come on. This is his fourth year? Well, this year will be his 4th year that we hired him as a consultant. So, but, you know, any questions, we're more than happy to try to answer them or guide you wherever.
I find it interesting when they transfer a well. In other words, if, as you said, Norris sells to someone else, they're not required to file a RP 5217, which is the real property.
It's not real property. It's not real property.
Well, it's being taxed like it's real property.
No.
It is part of real property.
No, you're incorrect. The gas, once it comes out of the well, is taxed as real property. It's personal property when it's in the ground. When I say, you know, okay. I had that little section, I said, you know, you got to understand the terminology. This is the kind of thing that you will find throughout that whole industry when it operates within the state. And it's true of any state. That terminology, understanding that the personal property becomes real property once it exits the wellbore. That's important. That's important to us. And that's why they don't file that with the right?
Well,
pipeline right-of-way, pipeline ownership. That's not, that is real property, right? I guess. But the gas, the leases, the wellhead apparatus, and the gathering line system, because that is part of the economic unit of the well. It's not filed with the county clerk.
Well, I'd challenge that, and I'll tell you why. I agree that the well, any of the thing that's above ground that is going to help you get the gas out of there, yes, is personal property. The gas that's in the ground is not personal property. When you buy real property, you buy the bundle of rights, and part of that bundle of rights is the mineral that's in the ground, and I consider that as real property.
You can consider it any way you want to consider it. I can't do that. And this is something I'm going to tell you. I've looked at this all along as something where I have to understand the law. I have to understand how the state treats it, and I've got to work within those parameters. I have sold property with the minerals severed. Okay?
Right.
If tomorrow I sell those mineral rights to someone, that will not be filed with the county clerk.
But if you sell the property without the mineral rights, you report that fact you're supposed to report that fact on the RP 5217. So I find it interesting that you don't have to if you later on sell it. So real property actually should probably address this issue.
Right.
Perhaps at the state level, but yeah. I'm telling you right now that the notification goes to the DEC, okay, and the DEC doesn't flow that back down. The only reason that I know that is because of a tax issue in our county. You know, yeah. So this is what you do.
Real property. I have some association with real property also, so I'll pursue that.
Well, what happened was tax bills from our county went to the wrong
Sure.
people because of that. And that's what brought this all up, because our director of real property is also on our gas committee.
Yep.
So they went out.
Get
and they went
Mr.
to the
Harris
wrong
on
people.
that. Get Mr. Harris on that.
What happens with the water lines? Are there any water lines from water sources to the wellhead?
Those are temporary. I do not know how you would treat those. I mean, they're not, if they're temporary, I don't think you tax them as real property, right? And you're gonna have two kinds of gas lines in your county too, right? We have a gathering line system right now in Chenango County that runs from, Preston through Preston, Plymouth, Smyrna, and then exits Smyrna into Lebanon, Madison County, right? That whole gathering line system, there's no real property tax that they pay on that gathering line system. Yet the proposed transport line that MKE has proposed along the same right-of-way running parallel to that pipeline, that will be taxed.
What's the difference?
The gathering line system is used to move the gas from the well into a interstate or interstate system. The transport line is going to move the gas from a multitude of wells under different ownership into the intra and interstate pipeline system. I mean, this whole topic is, you know, I mean, it is fascinating. It is fascinating.
Tell them what a tax is.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, we're gonna do two programs that I'm putting together right now with our planning department. Mid-May, I'm going to have someone from the Susquehanna River Basin Commission, probably Paula Balleron, come up, and she's gonna talk about SRBC, new regulations the SRBC has, and she's gonna talk a little bit about water withdrawals for natural gas development. I met her at a Penn State conference on local issues with gas development. She just needs to she has a meeting with the DEC on the issue, and she's gonna work us in around that, so I'm not sure of the exact date. And then in mid-June, I'm putting together a program on methods to deliver natural gas to municipalities, right? And, you know, you get into this thing where okay, you can have a utility, like NYSEG or Corning Natural Gas or Leather Stocking, they'll be the ones that serve our region. You can have a municipal system where a village or a town can actually own it, or you can also do a county-wide utility, right? If you can draw that gas from the interstate or interstate pipeline system, but if you take the gas off from the gathering line system, it can sometimes be done for less cost, because that is not, you're not a public, that's not, that you can do that and not be a public utility. The gathering line system becomes a public utility when there are more than 19 taps that come off from it, okay? And a tap is not a hole in the gas line. A tap is a change of custody. So if your local IDA wished to develop 3 industrial parks along that gathering line system within the county, let's say I wanted to do my gathering line system, let's say it ran from Coventry to Smyrna, and I wanted to do a tap in Greene, a tap to Greene, a tap to Smithville, and a tap to Sherburne. If the IDA owned all those taps, or the county, the Chenango County Natural Gas Corporation owned it, that would only count as one tap, because it would be one change of custody, even though there were 3 cuts in the line. You know, I mean, this is how this works, and it's absolutely fascinating to me, but it also takes a lot of time and effort to understand the legalities behind all this stuff.
Do you have any kind of compressor stations within your, and how are they treated?
They are treated as part of the economic unit of the wells. We had a compressor station in the county, it's no longer operational, and it actually moved the gas from the wells into the NYSEG system going to Oneonta, because the meter is beyond the compressor station. And that's where it's the meter that separates the gathering line system from the taxable inter or interstate pipeline system. Right? The compressor's not taxable.
The reason I raised that question, Town of Windsor has a major compressor station along the Millennium Pipeline.
And they pay tax because that's beyond that's beyond the meter.
Okay.
Well, and I don't, because that gas is all coming out of Pennsylvania, so I don't know what that law is, but if that was New York State, you would pay, it's like NYSEG right now pays tax on the meter, or on the compressor on the East River Road over here next to Benedict's. Because that's it's beyond the meter that separates that gas from the well and the pipeline system and the interstate or intrastate pipeline that is NYSEG's.
You mentioned Susquehanna River Basin Commission. We, Delaware County, because of the west branch of the Delaware River, overflow, have to deal with their Commonwealth Park, which has been sitting back. Delaware River Basin Commission has been sitting back and waiting to see what DEC is going to do with their supplemental GEIS, to see whether or not they're going to try to impose additional restrictions along that corridor.
And the DEC has restrictions beyond what the SRBC requires. They've got some flow.
The DRBC has indicated in some of their earlier literature that they usually or normally accept the regulations that have been designed or enacted by the DEC in New York State or Pennsylvania,
Right.
rather than enacting their own. But they haven't really come out and said that yet because the DEC hasn't finally released their proposed GEIS regulations. So we're being complimented between New York City and DRBC, you know, they say you don't know to jump up and down and throw snowballs because
Right.
you don't know which way they're going to be coming.
And correct me if I'm wrong, DRBC and SRBC have different authorities, right? SRBC has both authority over the removal of water from the system, or the watershed, and any discharge into the system.
Yes, John.
It's breaking up too much. It's
Okay.
not working. I'm not picking up much of this.
Okay, John,
Is there a way we can get notes or something?
yeah, most definitely we'll have minutes and notes sent out. And John, thank you very much. It is lunchtime right now. Thank you for everyone that have hung in there on the conference phone. I apologize for it being a little difficult to hear. There's an awful lot to talk about.
Well, very good presentation, and I have learned things already. So thank you very much, please.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
There's just for everyone else on the phone, there's just so much to talk about with gas, and there's a lot to actually learn from Chenango County when county government and local government starts to look at gas and a proactive approach to dealing with assessment, Department of Health, water issues, transportation issues. I think you guys have a great tool that, and that's one of the strengths of Southern Tier East is the fact that we can sit around at a planners roundtable and kind of talk about best practices or